And we're back, guys. How's everyone doing? I'm your host, Good Energy. I want to thank you all for the love and support as we get ready for the Australian Open, the first Grand Slam of the year, in the land down under the hot, humid summer. And we have a blockbuster matchup. Coco Gauff, the future of tennis, taking on big game Sofia Kenin. Listen, I don't care if you call her Sonia or Sofia, just don't leave out the big game. Let's go back to the first time these two ladies played. 2020, a 16-year-old Coco. At that time, I'll be 100% transparent with you. My favorite player on tour, Serena, was still on tour. We love Serena. But I would at least definitely say one of my favorite players on tour was Sofia Kenin, right? And I've said this all the time. It's documented. Sofia Kenin, guys, now we all know she was born in Russia. Her dad brought her over to this country when she was like, what I want to say 3 years old. He literally had no funds. He went to the tennis club, begged the organizers, the directors, to let his daughter take free tennis lessons. The rest is history. We've seen Sofia Kenin play alongside with Venus Williams as a little girl. Venus has been so instrumental in a lot of these ladies' career. Venus Williams is like, I mean, she's older now, but she's like that. I mean, I guess she's, well, okay. Let's just say, I'm not going to say she's like that mother because she's not old enough to be, well, I guess technically she's old enough to be Coco's mom. Wow, I didn't realize that. I'm going to say Venus is like that big auntie, that big sister, right? To a lot of these ladies. And what she did for Sofia Kenin early on in her career is amazing. And of course, the hard work paid off. She said her goal was to be number one. And that 2020 season, she started things off by winning the Australian Open. She had a chance to beat Iga in a late, cold, wet, rainy French Open tournament in that final. And, just the lead up to that, I knew I called Iga to win that tournament. Unseeded, she came through out of nowhere, played amazing. And go look at those clips. A very thin Iga Swiatek, guys. Unbelievable. She's put on some weight, and I'm telling you guys, very thin back then. She's very bottom heavy now, and I think that's going to be an issue with her longevity. I think Iga retires by 30. That's just my personal opinion. But Sofia Kenin, she won the Australian Open, right? Amazing championship run, and she beat Coco in that matchup. It went 3 sets, a 16-year-old Coco. But I don't want to look too deep into that matchup because Coco was just 16, coming off of her first championship on tour when she beat Jelena Ostapenko. And Jelena would throw some shade, last year when she won that tournament after being the runner-up to Coco. Jelena's funny, but I like I said last video, but believe it or not, Coco and Jelena, they're very cordial. They're very friendly with each other, so they don't have any beef or anything. She's probably closer to Jelena than Iga, Coco is. And Coco said some good things about Iga yesterday as well. So Coco doesn't believe that Iga cheated intentionally. She thinks it was a mistake. And she said it was a very competitive match with Iga. She said it could have went either way. A little piece of that humble pie. Coco's always so sweet and classy, just like Venus Williams. So I'm not going to look too much in that matchup at the 2020 Australian Open. It did go 3 sets, and we all know big game Sofia Kenin came through. She won the title. They would play last year in Auckland, right? Or 23 in Auckland, where Coco, the number 1 seed, she would win that championship in straight sets. She won that match in straight sets, and that's the Coco that I think we'll probably get a little bit more of in this first round matchup. But let's go back to 23 SW19. They played at Wimbledon, also went 3 sets, right? Coco was picked to go deep in that draw. And if you look at her draw, this was that one hiccup that could have literally, Coco could have won her at that time, right? Could have been her first slam. We really thought she had a good chance with her draw, very favorable draw. But Sofia Kenin was the upset factor in that tournament. Now, Coco's going to have the chance to tie this thing up at 2. Now, in terms of Sofia Kenin, listen, a bad loss against Maya Joint last time out, a breadstick in the second set. I don't like that loss. That's a very bad loss, in my opinion. I do think Maya Joint, I've told you, she's on my top 10 prospects list. She's very good. She's on the come up. She was born in the United States. She's became a resident of Australia. She's back in college in the United States. Big time game to watch out for, but that's a match Kenin has to win, right? Possibly lost a little bit of focus getting ready for the Australian Open. She's a former champion. There's a lot of press and media obligations. She's got to get to Australia. I understand that. We see it every time. Look at Iga a couple of years ago on grass, right? She doesn't have a grass championship besides juniors when she won Wimbledon as a junior. Match with Lucia Bronzetti, she would have won easily, right? She withdrew due to injury. She got to SW19, gave up the title. Could Kenin possibly have done that and lost focus? Possibly, but then again, why even play the match? So that loss, I do not like. Coco, on the other hand, she's playing solid. She's undefeated this year. She hasn't lost a set. Singles, she's played mixed doubles. She's very in form. I think she's the best when it comes to in shape. And we got Madison Keys and Pegula as well. They're playing themselves into shape. But I think right now, having the rest, having accomplished what she's done, the media's on her side, the fans are on her side, everyone's backing Coco, and her odds to win it, she was plus 550. It dropped to plus 350. She's back up to plus 450. Iga's got some movement as well. Sabalenka's about consistent. So right now, Iga and Coco are the two top players with a lot of movement. We saw Kim Jung. She had the fourth best odds to win the Australian Open. But once the big word got out that Reba would not be in her corner, he had hip surgery, which I announced this a couple months ago. Now Kenin had a lot of movement. Elena Rybakina surpassed her as having a better chance to win the Australian Open. This matchup here in particular, guys, Coco, can she become the world's ranked number one this year? I do think she can. It doesn't really need a lot to happen, guys. Really two things if we're talking long ball. Sabalenka to not win this Australian Open, right? An early exit before the finals, preferably. Even if she makes the finals and lose it, Coco still has a chance to become number one later in the season. And Iga to not win the French Open. If those two things happen, Coco just has to play consistent, go deep in tournaments. Win one of these slams, she'll be number one in the world. But in this tournament in particular, she's going to need Sabalenka to have an exit 1, 2, 3, fourth round. Iga to exit first or second round, win the whole tournament. Coco's number one. Simple as that. Easier said than done. But I do think Coco's going to win the Australian Open. She's my pick to win it, and this starts with this matchup here. Now, Coco Gauff, guys, listen. She's playing solid tennis right now. She's literally averaging about 4 aces per match. Still around 4 double faults per match, but she's winning 80% of her service games. So when you factor in her defense where she's breaking opponents at a 50% rate, she's winning 50% of her return games and holding 80% of her serves, that's very tough to beat. That's very tough to beat because she's destroying you on the offensive side. She's showing consistency, and she is just destroying any type of offensive weapon you're trying to throw at her, right? So that's very important. Sofia Kenin, she's averaging about 1 ace per match, but she's giving triple that back in free points. She's averaging 3 double faults where Coco's aces and double faults are canceling each other out. So you can look at these service games with Coco being a much better returner, and Coco's up already 15-30, 15-40. She's got breakpoint opportunities. Kenin's winning about 69% of her first serves, right? But what's concerning to me is she's only winning about 21% of her first return points, and about it's varying depending on her matches, anywhere between 40 to high 50% of her second return points, right? The thing with Sofia Kenin, we go back to that prediction I gave a couple of years ago against Sabalenka, right? Key strategy. She's got to hit the corners, attack deep, much like Victoria Azarenka does. Hit the corners, extend the court, stretch the court wide. If she's going to have any chance to beat Coco, I think she's going to have to mix up fast balls with short balls, long balls with deep balls, adjust the pace, but she has to get Coco, she has to slow Coco down. She has to do everything in her power to slow Coco down and make Coco think. If she lets Coco just run wild out there with intuition, instinct, Coco's going to destroy because the game's going to be too fast for Sofia. Sofia has the mix and short balls, even though Coco's going to return most of them, and it's going to be frustrating, but she's got to mix up the pace, short and deep balls. She's got to attack the corners, how I said she needed to do to beat Sabalenka, and she did exactly that. She's got to attack the corners deep. Get Coco thinking, get her off balance, and do everything you can to redirect pace. It's easier said than done because there's a big athletic gap here. And I think Sofia Kenin plays her best tennis coming inside the baseline and coming cross court. She's going to have to mix in that as well. But again, in order to get to that position, she's got to return Coco's deep balls and mix in short balls so she's able to step up. There's a lot that has to take place for Kenin to implement a strategy like that. When starting the rally off, Coco's blasting these insanely powerful serves, and aside from Alicia Parks having that U.S. Open fastest serve on record, Coco has been quietly on record in terms of the WTA. She's been quietly heading into a lot of these tournaments, putting up the fastest serve at these tournaments. There's a lot of 1000s and 500s where Coco's played. I have to go through the videos and pull them up where she has the fastest serve on record, right? But no one really makes a big deal about it because it's not a major, right? But let's go back to the majors. Even at the majors, even though she's not setting the fastest record, the last U.S. Open, she had the fastest serve. Her last two U.S. Open, she had the fastest serve for those tournaments. The last Australian Open, she had the fastest serve for that tournament, as well as the French Open and SW19. Coco is putting up the fastest serves. It's just not in history for these tournaments. So this group of ladies, even over Sabalenka, Coco is very fast on that serve, very strong and powerful. And that's going to be a problem for Sofia Kenin. She's going to start the rally off on the back foot, and I see just Coco just stepping up, hitting winners. Can Sofia Kenin upset Coco? Of course she can. Players have bad games. They have injuries. You know, they wake up tired. We saw Alicia Parks against that match with Mariam Bjorklund. She was tired, exhausted. If you watch that match, she was not in her element. She'll be playing doubles, by the way, so we'll still see Alicia Parks. But again, it happens. Players wake up fatigued and tired. I don't think that's going to be an issue with the Coco. Not only does she take really good care of her body, but she's been here ahead of time, so she's rested. She's used to the course. Even though she has a lot of press and media obligations, she said recently in an interview that she feels mentally the best she's ever in her career. And I've told you guys, watching her play, I watch all of her matches for many years. She is in a space now where nothing is bothering her. She is laser focused. And that scares me because you factor in that mental edge where I think Sofia Kenin's been through so much injuries the last few years, her ranking, losing her confidence, not being recognized as one of the best American players anymore, not being recognized as one of the best players on tour anymore, slowing down a bit, getting a little bit older. Mentally, I don't think she's there. She just lost to Maya Joy, a teenager. I don't think she's there. My pick is for Coco to win this match. I think she has way too many weapons for Kenin right now. I love Kenin. She's an amazing player, but this is a bad matchup stylistically right now. I think Coco's going to win this match. She's going to get out of the first round, and we're going to take it from there. My pick is for Coco Gauff to defeat big game Sofia Kenin. Sorry, Kenin. Coco advances. Tennis in a minute. Show some love. Like the video. We'll be right back, guys.